Martine De Luna, welcome to Get Gutsy.
Hello, Jenny. It's so awesome to be here. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. And I know this conversation is going to be electric today because we basically blew up the internet when we first tried to record the conversation.
It's a vortex.
It's a vortex. The Zoom room was like, this is too much for me. Hold on. I need to go and drink some tea or something. And the Zoom room, y'all, it's like cut off. We had to reboot. I mean, I had to turn my internet off and turn it back on. You know what I'm talking about. Like, technology is a wonderful thing. It's not perfect. It has its days too. And though how awesome it is that you and I are talking from two very, very, very far away places. Y'all know
12 hours apart.
Martine, tell everybody where you live.
I am in Metro Manila, the Philippines.
The Philippines.
10 o'clock in the evening, whereas it's bright and sunny morning over there in Massachusetts. 12 hours. Amazing. Always amazes me.
I know. It does to me too. And for those of you who don't know the story of Martine and I, you'll get to know more of how we got together on this journey. But Martine, you joined, I think it was one of my free challenges. You remember more of the details. I know when you came in, but I mean, for you, it's like you saw this opportunity.
It was strange.
Talking about that. How did we meet?
Okay. So what was strange about it was, and I tried to track this down lately, but we have a common friend, Perna Malik.
Okay.
So maybe your ad was showing up in her region because she has clients from there. And suddenly it popped up in my region. And apparently the dude who was running the ads is from the Philippines. So long story short, it showed up in my feed without me being part of the target audience. So if that's not magic, I don't know what is. I saw your challenge, and it was day one of the challenge. And I remember it was in the evening, and I was just going to bed. And I said, well, this looks interesting. And she looks interesting because she's homeschooling. She's been working from home for quite a while. I like her style, and I just wanted to know more about you. So I joined, and I had so much fun on the challenge that I really took it seriously. I gave it everything that I had. And I was surprised when I was one of the winners, and that made it like I had a foot in the door for Get Gutsy Coach Training School. So that's how we connected.
Yep. And you joined Get Gutsy Coach Training School.
I did.
I remember, and I mentioned this on another episode recently. I was talking to somebody, and it's, these conversations that I get to have because I've chosen to have a podcast, they remind me of certain things. A lot of it is I'll get a message that I know I'm meant to receive. And it's so special when I get the chance to have these wonderful women to talk to like you. And as you just said, you decided to give your all at this challenge. And I saw your talent. One of my jobs in this running of this business and advancing this mission is to be a talent spotter. Okay. I spot talent, and I want talent on my team. Right. And my team is the programs, right? These women that I get to help, either in my coaching school or some other programs. So my job is to spot talent. And when I see that talent, I will go after you. I will go after you with love. And I went after you. I was like, oh, Martine, you are incredible. And then we had a conversation, and you stepped forward into Get Gutsy Coach Training School. You're one of the best students I've ever had. Now you're a client in my mastermind. I'm a client of yours. You're doing Pinterest work for my business. And wow, here we are. Just to hop on the thing, I don't know that I knew about that Perna Malik connection, that was kind of the original piece. I
was tracing it. I said, how is that? And then we had common friends, and I said, oh, Perna's. And I've never met her either. But
you know what? I'm like freaking out right now. It's almost the 2-year anniversary of when I met Perna in person in India. I went to India for my 40th birthday. Just so happened this trip that I had the opportunity to go on was in the month of May when I was turning 40, which is a very significant rite of passage. And partner reached out and said, I would love to meet you. And she lives
Right.
in Delhi. And so
In
we were
Delhi.
cruising through Delhi, and she met us at this wonderful hotel where we were staying. And we just really hit it off. And, you know, that her reaching out, me saying, yes, please come meet us at this hotel. And she came, and we had this, and, you know, so many things have happened because of that desire for us to gather in person.
Yes.
And then using that. So I want to make that point to our listeners too. You know, the internet's a beautiful thing, but when you have the opportunity to go travel to something, to go meet people in real life, even if you've only known them on the internet, do it. I mean, obviously you need to vet the invitation. You can't, you know, meet with every single person in the whole wide world, but when you know in your heart of hearts, yeah, there's something here. There's something I want to follow that nudge, and I want to get to know this person better. And then now, hey, you and I are having this wonderful conversation.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So tell people more about what do you do? What is your passion with your work?
Oh, my passion is to help women really awaken to freedom and bliss that they can create in their lives. I used to say I'm a coach, I'm a consultant on personal branding, but then I started to answer that differently when I began to internalize, you know, like, why am I here? Why am I here on this earth? And what makes me get up in the morning? Coaching and consulting is my work, but it's not why I get up in the morning. I get up in the morning because I'm obsessed with seeing people have that light bulb moment, like, oh, I want that for my life. So I'm going to make ways for that to happen. That's freedom. When you help a woman across like a terror barrier, as Bob Proctor calls it. The other thing is helping women to like really design a blissful life, which is what attracted me to you, because you had this message, do less, make more. That was actually the hook. So when I went to your website, it was like, I want to work with this woman because she's like, she gets me. She gets me. So I work with women who get that. They're not afraid to want freedom, right? I've always been, like I like to say, I've always been a life hacker. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I never went to college.
I didn't know that about you. Okay, yeah, I wanted to get more of your backstory today, because obviously I've only known you for a bit of time now, and it's good to hear. Not everyone goes to college. Not everybody needs to go to college. So let's hear more about your educational journey, and you always know that you were driven and talented, and what made you say, you know what, I'm not going to go to college. I don't need that, or maybe that just wasn't in the cards, or what's the mindset in the Philippines? And I don't think you've always lived in the Philippines, right? You've moved around a bit. Okay, so let's go back. Tell us more.
We grew up third culture kids. So a third culture kid is basically an expatriate. You live away from your home country. So we chose to live in Hong Kong and in Singapore, really enmeshed in the expat culture there. So I wasn't with a lot of Filipinos either. I was with a lot of like an international, like kind of group of classmates and, parents, my parents' friends. So I was really exposed to a very global like environment growing up. And when we came back here, when the opportunity came for us, when you're expats, you do want to go home. The call to home is very magical in a way. And ironically, I received my mom thinks it was a message from God that it was time for us to go home. And I told her, and she said, okay, let's go home. And so I was 16, we were back here, and there came the decision to kind of like, do I go to school or not? At that time, I would say that was a peculiar time in my life. I was, my family and I were involved in a lot of church. And the particular church that I was a part of was trying to be a bit radical in a way. Like, what will happen if we kind of like forego like the traditional, path to, do we have to go to college and do we have to like climb the corporate ladder, etc. So long story short, my mindset back then was, I can break with tradition. I don't have to be like the template of society, etc., etc. So that was my mindset when I was 18 years old. I traveled. went to Paris for the first time because that was my dream. I said, I don't want an 18th birthday. I want to go to Paris. So my dad said, okay, go to Paris. Right.
Did you go with them, or you went by yourself?
No, I went with a group of other students as well.
Okay.
So it's popular, like, I should mention that I was homeschooled for a time while we were transitioning back here. And homeschooling gave me that kind of like light bulb, hey, this feels a little good, like to not go to a school. Although I enjoyed my schooling years in Singapore and Hong Kong immensely. But that kind of gave me like this light bulb moment that, well, what else can I change? What else can I change? What else is, doesn't have to be normal? What else can be me? And I had a very interesting path after the age of 18 because I sought mentors who would teach me whatever I wanted to learn. So my first mentor was on a magazine because I wanted to learn how to write. In conjunction with that, I took a 2-year journalism course, but it was an associate's course, nothing like a degree or anything. But that wasn't the point. I didn't need anything on paper. I just wanted to be a writer.
Right.
So I mentored with a publisher. And then after that, I got fascinated with teaching. And this is where kind of like my whole homeschooling and now unschooling passion came about. I was hired to conceptualize like a co-working space for homeschoolers here in the Philippines. It was the first of its kind. And I created that idea from like nowhere. So I always knew that I had the capacity for strange ideas, maybe things that people had not been willing to explore before, especially here. You're in Asia. You are in an environment of the diploma mill. Everybody wants to go to a certain school, to a certain college, and have a certain degree. I was different because I honestly didn't care about any of those. And I was following I now know it's my intuition. I now know that's what it was. But I always followed my gut. I always followed what's right for me because I can question that and it'll be okay. Right. And of course, I've always kind of like approached life that way, like question everything. Question everything.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I always say it brought me to this phrase in 2013 on my blog. I started to say, find your bliss, make it blissful. It just rolled off the tongue. And I said, that's going to be my battle cry. That's going to be my mantra. In everything, make it blissful.
So how did you get there? So I love that you just seeked out mentors. And you know what? Now that we're having this conversation, I mean, first off, that's freaking rad that you're like, I don't need to go to college to know how to be in the world. But you realized you did want to learn. You were going to design it differently. You weren't going to buy in. Like you just are someone who's a rebel. You're a nonconformist. And that's why I like you so much for many reasons, but that's one of them. And you just saw like, and I think, you and I are both in kind of this homeschooling world. And again, it's not for everybody. I know you follow the unschooling path, but what I've noticed, because, we're now in school year 3 with this, that the families who walk this path are ones who are willing to be different, who kind of see the game that's being played. Like, I think my son saw that game because he was the one who got us on this path. Like, this was not my idea. This was absolutely his idea. And he saw the game. And see, I saw the game when I was in school, and I was like, well, this is the game, so I'm going to play this game to the best of my ability. He was like, yeah, this game is lame. Okay, I'm not playing this game.
I want my own game.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to do a different game. Like, what?
Was this Luke?
No, Sean, the oldest.
Oh, Sean.
Now 10. Yeah, he's one of those guys. And it's not a surprise. He's my freaking son, of course. And like between my husband and myself. But, I'm not sure if you're familiar of what recently has gone on here in the United States, but there's been this it was like a big expose came out, big investigation that went on with lots of, let's just call a spade, very wealthy people who, including some celebrities, actresses, who basically,
oh my God, yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and they basically paid people to like take these standardized tests for some of their kids, and or pretended that their kids were like water polo players and
So
they've never
disappointing.
played water polo. I mean, some of it's just like, what? You know,
What is
like,
that?
excuse me, what? It's craziness. And because there's this game that's played
Mm,
there that says you have to get a certain amount, a certain
yeah.
score on these tests to get into
Hmm.
this type of school.
Right.
And if you don't get into this type of school, who are you? And
Hmm.
that's all just ridiculous. I mean, yes,
It's
there
a
are
whole
certain
identity
behaviors.
crisis.
Exactly. And so it
It
really
is.
came to a head, and you saw what was going on. It's like the underbelly of that whole world. And so for you, you saw that, hey, this was what people kind of go crazy about over here, the diploma mill. And you know what? I'm not going to do that, but I do need to learn from experts.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I want to be a great writer. I'm going to have a publisher as a mentor. I want to learn how to teach. So I'm going to find someone in that capacity who can help me with that. And then how did it then lead you into,
Mm. Where
doing something professionally that you said, I'm
okay.
going to start doing something and like put it
Right.
out there? Was the blog your first kind of
Yeah.
professional move?
Mm-hmm. It was. So in 2010, when I had my son for 6 months, I
Mm-hmm.
decided that I didn't want to work in employment anymore. Like I had done the whole kind of like revelatory reading of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It happens. It happens to people. They read that book and they get ideas. So I read the book, I got ideas. And then I said, well, this sounds good. If I can be a work at home mom, I started following a lot of bloggers from the US. There was like the golden age of the mommy blog. Do you remember that? Like 2010
Yeah. And
to
like blog,
2011.
was it like Blog Her?
Blog Her and like
Blog Her.
Blissdom, that conference, and like,
Okay.
all of these things were coming out. And I was like, it's so fascinating how these women are working from home and they are writing. So I was like, I can write. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did, and this was one of my gutsy moves, Jenny,
Mm-hmm.
I went to Craigslist because there was no other thing back then but
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist to look for ads. And this company in California,
Mm-hmm.
in Orange County, was looking for somebody who could be a digital marketer that they could train.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, applied and I said, I don't know anything about that, but I do know about the internet and how
Mm-hmm.
to start a blog because I had been toying around with my blog for a couple of months by then.
Okay.
And I said, send in an application. And the gentleman who interviewed me said, well, this job is all about using your words to sell. So it was a copywriting job. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, do you know about copywriting? So of course I didn't, but I said, yes, I do.
Yes, I
because,
do. I love it.
yeah,
You'll
because,
figure it out.
yeah, I told my husband, I want to be a work at home mom so bad. So I will take any chance that I get to get
Mm-hmm.
out of here because
Mm-hmm.
I was employed the whole 9 to 5. It's nine
What
to
were you
six here.
employed? What were you? It was 9
I
to
was
6.
in the
What were
I
you doing?
was in the homeschool support center as a teacher.
Oh,
I
okay.
was
Okay. So you helped
I
start
was
that and you
teaching
worked there.
and I
Okay.
worked there for 7 years. So I
Wow.
said, I need to get out of here. Maybe it was a 7 year itch too.
Right.
Maybe it was,
Yeah.
I was believing I could be an entrepreneur, but then I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I'm going to take this call with this guy. It was a Sunday afternoon here. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, so sell me this pen. Do you know where that's from, right? That's from The Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yes.
But the movie wasn't out back then. And he said, okay, you have 10 minutes to come up with a paragraph that will sell me a pen. And you have to say it to me on Skype. So we were on Skype and I said, okay. So basically I, on the spot, just was able to sell him the pen. I was able to sell him the benefits, how you would
Right.
feel if you had the pen, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't realize I had that capacity. And then he said, okay, what's your price? No one had ever asked me that. So
Oh, shit.
I was like, talking to my husband, what's my price? And he's like, double your income. So
Uh-huh.
I did. I said, this is my price. He's like, perfect. Okay. So, and it was a flexible job. I could work my own hours. I just had to write and send him the stuff. And then I eventually learned a lot about copywriting, copy blogging, which was blogging to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Social media started to come out then. I did that for 3 years until I said, you know what? I know so much and people are already asking me about my blog and to teach them how to blog. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bow out and do my own thing. So that was in 2013. And the
Mm-hmm.
gentleman was really, really nice. He supported me. he said, like, go for it, whatever. And I've been doing consulting since then. So I started to consult with bloggers first here in my country, some in Singapore. And at the time I was also part of like a community blog called the World Moms blog. And some of them became my clients from the States and from different regions. And I started to really enjoy being available as a consultant for people who wanted to put up a personal brand with their blogs. So that became my work for several years. And yeah, that's kind of like what established me as well.
Yeah, that backstory just really kind of like, oh yeah, all the pieces are clicking in. And that how wonderful is it that you basically got paid to learn how to be a copywriter? I mean, you had what it took. You wouldn't have been able to get the gig if you couldn't sell that pen.
Yeah.
All right. And obviously you naturally are talented at this, and the work you did with the mentors got you ready. And then were you also blogging yourself while you were doing this?
Yes, he allowed me to. He was a really great boss.
Cool.
So he said, so it was a contractual arrangement.
Right.
Like I was a freelancer, but he said, because you're a freelancer, you can do whatever you want.
That's the perfect arrangement, honestly.
Publishing freedom. So my blog grew here in the Philippines. It established me as a professional. It was a 6-figure blog. I got paid endorsements. They sent me to Italy, and things like that. Review hotels. It was fun. It was fun until it was no longer fun.
So let's talk about that. What made it no longer fun? What happened?
So there was this whole conversation around 2012, 2013 amongst the blogging community. And it's like, are these blogs authentic anymore? Or are we just getting paid to talk about, other people's stuff?
And just like that. Which kind of paid advertisers.
Yeah, because you become a brand ambassador. You become paid to represent a certain brand. And that was kind of like a question mark for me, because I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I mean, the money's good, the money was great. I mean, I was matching my husband's income. So I really felt empowered and I could do what I wanted with my money. But then I said, wait a minute, I've never been asked this question before. So it kind of got me also into a little bit of a funk, because while I was having that crisis, I was pregnant with my second. So that kind of compounded. And when she came, I got the depression, like from when the hormones come. And one by one, I literally dropped clients here and there. Like I couldn't function. And so they were upset. They were like, well, we can find somebody else. So the existential crisis about writing because you were paid to do it, plus the fact that I had clients that I couldn't perform for because I couldn't function. And then I had this beautiful baby that I always said, I asked for her. I asked for a daughter. I said, God, give me a daughter. And then that broke me. On top of that, on November of 2015, whilst in the middle of this, my husband lost his job. And when you are on a dual income and suddenly you're on a single income, your world just changes. It changed in 10 days. We had to move out of the place that we were renting. It was a nice, like a condo unit. We had to leave that place, 3 bedrooms. We moved back into, well, not back, we've never lived here, but we moved into my parents' compound where they had a house in the back, in the other yard. So it was formerly my brother's house, but when you've kind of like been the independent one, I'm the eldest of 3 children. I've always lived away from my parents. I've always been like, Martine does her own thing. That shattered me. That broke me. It broke my husband for a while as well. We struggled for, like several months being here. And that really changed things. It changed the world for me to not be Martine making it blissful. So that kind of broke me. It kind of broke me.
So how did you get through that?
Okay. So we were about maybe 4 months living here, which is the house that I now live in. I've made it my home. I've made it beautiful. I've made it blissful. A friend of mine in Singapore reached out to me, and because I was looking for, another way to get back on my feet, she offered me a network marketing opportunity. And at that time, I was all like, I can't do that stuff. Don't offer me that stuff before.
Right.
But now I needed it. So I saw it as a solution. And that was kind of a blessing in disguise, because what a lot of people might misunderstand about the industry, I'm it's still one of my businesses, but it's one of my streams of income. But a lot of people didn't know that was what I was doing for quite some time, maybe a year and a half. And built into that industry is this quality of personal development. Like, you must develop yourself or you won't be successful in that business. So I had my first experience of coaching and mentoring in that industry. So I was traveling. I was able to travel, find ways to get, training, Dale Carnegie trainings here, Procter Gallagher trainings there. Wherever I could get the training to be successful in that business, I got. And that's what intrigued me about transformation, about coaching a person to be successful, no matter their industry. So around that was, I did that heavily the whole of 2017, and it put us back on our feet. I am eternally grateful for my friend who introduced me to that business, because you really must apply yourself, and then you can reap the rewards once you've set it up properly. I know a lot of our women in the Gutsy Leaders of Wisdom are also, they also have that as their business. So that really established kind of this mindset in me that when somebody develops themselves in the mind, then they can do anything in the physical world. And that's what got me obsessed with finding my own coach. So by the time I was in like 2018, my mind was very open, and my direction was, well, I think I want to help more women do what I did, but I need the skills to be able to take them through a process of what happened to me. And then that was around May. And that was when I was shopping around. I was shopping around for coaches, but I couldn't find, the coach that kind of like fit the bill until this magical connection between us. So I went into coach training school because I knew that there are other women like me. I don't know where they are. Not all of them are, but there are going to be women like me down the line who are going to need to know that they will be okay. And that they will have experiences like this. They will have children. They will have losses. They will have struggles. They will have depression. And they will be able to get through it. They will, and make it blissful had a whole new meaning for me, because then I learned about vibration. I learned about energy. I learned about this magical side that my mentor called it. She said, you know what you are an unconscious competent. You're really good, but you don't know why. So let's study why. Let's study how the human mind works. So that was my first mentor. But then when I studied transformation in school with you, then all the pieces started clicking together. You know how Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots going forward. It's only going back.
Looking back.
Right. So I said, then that's what happened. I had to go through all of those experiences. But then when I went into Get Gutsy Coach Training School, and we went through everything systematically, I said, there we go. I have no regrets about what happened to me. I have no anger towards the universe, towards source, towards God, for whatever happened to me, because now I know it was never for me. It was to make it blissful out of, it's not make Martine blissful. It's make it existence, the world, women everywhere blissful. That is the only way I would, have meaning and purpose in this world. So yeah, I just wake up in the morning right now. Like, I really love waking up because I know that I'm going to love what I do every single day. And I have, Esther Hicks says, you will have contrasts. You will have those times where days are shitty when your kids throw tantrums.
Right.
But you will have that mindset and that you will be able to switch the vibration in a millisecond and get back to, okay, but life is good. Life is still awesome.
Yeah.
With contrast.
Yeah.
So I think that has been one of my most breakthrough moments this past year. And being in the energy, like you talk a lot about magic. You talk a lot about intuitive power, one of your programs. I never knew what all of those things were until there was this verbiage for it. You know, that's what it was. It was my intuition. It was my perception. It was my resilience. Those were the things that kicked in, and I never knew I had those things. So that means other women have those inside of them. They're just not able to access them. So I want the skills to help them have those transformations so that they can be there for other women. You know, we need more coaches who are like legit, like transformational coaches. And I'm just happy to be a part of that, to be a part of a powerful community as well, making that a possibility.
Totally. And you really stepped into that. What I love about you is that you believe in sharpening the saw. It's okay. You're not, spoiler alert, everyone, you're not done until you're dead. Okay. So you've got to continuously do the work, go deeper. Martine, you know, when I put opportunities out there to be a part of something, she's always in. She's like, all right, I'm going to go and step into that. And even if you've done it before, sometimes I'll run a challenge a few times. You know, I've got a Power Brand camp coming up for this, and you were in my last round. You're like, I'm doing it again. You see it because you're not the same person.
Because it's not the same. And one of the things I learned from one of the books that I read, like this is the book that I've been reading. It's from our book list.
Think and Grow Rich.
It says here, the power of repetition. So a lot of people think, oh, I attended that program. Oh, I attended that training. Oh, I listened to that podcast. I'm like, but did you get it the first time around?
Right.
Things sound different when you listen to them a second and a third and a fourth time. You get something different. So I keep going back. It seems like I keep going back to the same teachers, to the same like trainers and coaches, because I'm not yet done. I've not yet gotten the entire message. And I know that that's when it becomes a habit. Like when you decide that you want to be around successful people, that becomes a habit. And I had to make that a habit with myself. Like I had to be disciplined with the Netflix, right? It's like, I can't watch Netflix every night.
No.
It's going to screw with my brain.
Right.
That was one of the things I had to deal with. I'm like, am I going to Netflix tonight, or am I going to sleep so that I can wake up in the morning, meditate, and have a good time for reading?
Totally.
And,
totally. You have to make a lot of choices on this path. I always say to people, it's like you're training to go to the Olympics. You're going to the Super Bowl. It's a big football thing here in the States. You have to take it that seriously in terms of what you put into your body, your exercise, your meditation, your reading, your coaches, your, personal development work, the people you surround yourself with. If you're around negative people who are like, that's never going to work, or what are you doing? Why are you signing up for that thing again? What are you're going to this event? Like, why? Yeah. And people who just, everything is wrong. Everything's hard. Everything's frustrating. I mean, listen, like you said, life is a series of contrasts. And I don't believe that we love and light our way through the world. We've got to look at what's going on. Yeah. And I do want to speak about what you're really, taking a stand for, because there's a lot of horrible things that are, happening in the world. There's a lot of heartbreaking things that are happening in the world. And so, hi, is that a little one?
No, it's actually the dog peeking in.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, oh, we've got some action going. Usually my dog would be in my office with me right now, but she's off with my husband and my son.
He's a little big. He's a Belgian Malinois, so if he barks,
it's all good. Don't worry. I always say to people, like, this is real life here, which is what I love about my work. I don't try to edit out a kid or edit out a dog bark, because
I love that. I love it when they pop in, because it's like, hey,
Otherwise,
Where are they
people think,
bringing?
well, I gotta wait until do something in my business till my kids are like in college. Like, no,
Absolutely.
you need to do it now, like today.
Yeah.
Today's the day. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, you just get that this is serious. You don't take yourself too seriously, but that this work is serious. People need you. You have launched so many programs out there since I've seen you, and I know what you're doing.
I've scrapped a few.
Yeah. And you've scrapped some too, but you're just running experiments. You are hungry. You are curious. You are committed. And I think a piece of this for you, and I want to give you a chance to just talk about this, Martine, as we get to the end of the show today, which is, why you're so fired up, what you're taking a stand for, in this season of your life that's so connected to where you live and the one of the women who you are, your country women. Like, what was it that you're very fired up by in terms of cultural barriers and economic ceilings?
This is a very brave thing for me to talk about, because I have tossed and turned about if I'm going to speak out on this. But during our Magic Makers call, when you did that particular piece on, I'm just not going to shut up anymore about what and you're working on this blog post that you're going to launch.
Coming soon, Martine. It'll be out before this is. Oh shit.
Right.
But it should scare you. It should scare you. You said you tossed and turned. Go ahead.
I tossed and turned. And my stand is, we have to stop thinking like third world women, even if we live in the third world. Okay. We have to view our world as one world, one source of abundance, one area of opportunity. It's the separation that is killing people. It is separating people into religion, into sectors, into parties, into, whatever. It is separation. I'm taking a stand for also this kind of like culture of like, I'm a martyr, like I am a victim. I know a lot of people struggle with that, not just in my country, but, all over the world. Like, it's not fair. It's their fault. It's the government's fault. It's my parents' fault for not like giving me opportunities. It's my job's fault that I don't make enough money. It's this. So I am taking a stand for the martyr mentality. And that's what makes me so passionate about mindset coaching. I am a mindset coach, and I specialize in personal branding. And I got asked that question. I'm like, how does that fit in? It was one of these Facebook groups. And I said, well, if you don't have a healthy mindset, then your personal brand is screwed, because your personal brand is the expression of you in the world. It is your aura. It is your essence. It is your frequency. And most recently in my newest workshop, I said, it is your personal vibration. Yeah. So what vibe are you sending out there? Are you sending out a vibe that, oh, I'm a martyr, I'm only worth $5 an hour, which a lot of my country women struggle with. They struggle pricing themselves up, because what if nobody hires me from the States or something like that? And I'm like, well, those people have to wake up, and you have to make a stand for your time. I know women who work 60-hour weeks, and they're working from home, and they are still working as if they are in corporate, slaving away for somebody else. And I said, we have to stop this. I started a mastermind for my country women just for that. And one of our agendas is raise your prices. But before that, you have to raise your vibration.
That's right.
So I said, it's like all connecting. And I said, I'm so excited. I'm running the second round of that mastermind, enrolling for a third. And I am just, so passionate about increasing the frequency of the women in my nation, in my region.
Yeah.
We are, I really hate it when people call us the basket case of Asia. Like, I vehemently
hate that. Who says that?
They've said that before.
Who's they?
It came out in the 90s in some magazine. I don't know if it was Newsweek or something, but it came out in a magazine describing the Philippines around the 1990s, and I never forgot that. I have no like file of that thing, but I
Right.
remember
You
it as a
remember
child.
seeing it. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And you're like, what is
Why
that?
are we? What is a basket case? And
What
I'm
is
like,
that?
oh my gosh. And I think like some people still feel like they are basket cases, and I'm like, that's
I
not
think
true.
you're working with that energy. It's like that there's still some of that running through. And so, yeah, we've got to
Yeah.
work 60 hours a week and we can't ever raise our price because maybe think
Mhm.
we're too expensive and we'll lose the
Yes.
thing. And so it's good that you're tapped into that. And it wasn't a mistake that you saw that. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, when we can, again, going back and looking at
Right.
that,
Connecting the
that
dots.
way, going, oh
Mm.
yeah, I saw that article and it bothered
It,
me and I was
it
confused
bothered
by
me.
it. And now, a piece of what your work is really elevating that vibration and that
Mm.
knowing of your countrywomen that you are worth more, you deserve
Yes.
more, you are made for more. And then,
Mhm.
I mean, you are hitting things globally, though. I mean, y'all, you should know Martine.
Mhm.
I mean, her programs are not just for people in the Philippines. She's a global
No, they're
coach.
not.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she's really, you made like very close connections with two of the women who you went through Get Gutsy
Yeah.
Coach Training School. You all are doing some work together.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's why I spotted that talent in you because I saw you. I mean, you are going to do so much. You've already have, but you're just scratched the surface. You just scratched the
Yes.
surface. You're going to do so much more with these gifts and this talent. And what you said around this, I think because this is what I do in my work is to help people like Martine identify what is that thing that you're taking a stand for? Like, what is
Mm.
that big message
Yes.
that your platform is built on? And the message will evolve over time because we
Mhm.
evolve and we learn new stuff and we meet new people and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, it's this now, but just gets better over time. But that
Right.
frustration that you have around, we have to stop thinking like third world women, even though we live in a third world country. This
Yes.
one world, this is causing division. This is causing, where it's
Mm.
either you're in this party or that party. You are good or you're bad. This is causing
Mhm.
so much
And the
conflict.
recent
We
thing
break
that you
down by
posted
religion.
about what Ellen posted. Oh my God.
Brunei, I
That
know.
hurts. That hurt me.
I know. I know. I
That
mean,
hurt me.
it's still happening. And, just to hop on that, there was just in case anyone doesn't realize this, but the country of Brunei basically came out with, I forget, it's a
He's
pretty
a
much like
sultan.
he's a
Yeah.
sultan. Okay. The Sultan of
Mhm.
Brunei is very, very, very wealthy. They have
Very wealthy.
a lot of oil there. And basically, the country of Brunei, which is pretty much owned by him, they own a lot of these very luxurious hotels around the world. And
Mhm.
they have some new laws that they've put into effect, several that are basically assaults on human rights. And one of
Yes.
them is if you are found to be gay, you will be stoned to death. You will be stoned,
Yes.
like death by stoning. And it's a Muslim country, and apparently this
Mhm.
is Sharia law. And again, I'm not
Yes.
an expert on these laws or anything like that, but any law that says if you're gay you're going to be stoned to death just is not a law that I
No.
feel needs to exist in this world. And so Ellen came out, put this post up that said, ban, basically boycott these hotels.
Yes.
And I had first read the article in the New York Times. My husband tipped me off to it. And then I read the article and I was like, oh my, like, I can't believe these things
It's
still
still
happen in
happening.
the world, right? This division, like if you do this, you're bad. Like you can't
Mhm.
do that. And I posted about it. I saw it. And, because my platform now is evolving. And if for those of you who've listened to the
Yes.
show for a long time, the show's been called Get Gutsy since the beginning. But I was ready to shake things up. I love Get Gutsy is still something I'm super passionate about. My coaching school is Get Gutsy Coach Training School. My book is Get Gutsy. I have a new book coming out. I'll let y'all
Mhm.
know when we're ready to announce more on that. But my whole thing now is like, what gets me fired up? Take a stand. What are you here to take a stand
Yes.
for? And so when I saw that post, I'm like, okay, well, I can't be talking about taking a stand and then not take a stand about things that really make me
Absolutely.
mad. And so I posted it, and a colleague of mine who I met years ago, she hopped on that. I put it on Instagram and Facebook, and she said, I want to thank you for posting this because it would have
Mm.
been really easy for you, Jenny, to simply see that and get mad, but just, move on. But you took
Mhm.
a stand here, and I really appreciate you doing that. It was like she saw me, and I replied back to her, and I said, you are exactly right. And I went through that thought process in my head, and I was like, what if the Sultan of Brunei wants to come and kill me or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to get in trouble. It's just like old programming that says I'm going to get in trouble as a woman, as this witchy woman. We were burned at the stake. We were freaking stoned to death back in the day, right? So, oh no, who's going to come get me for doing this? Maybe it's people who don't like that I post this. Maybe the Sultan's coming to get me. I mean, seriously, like these are the things. Hey, they stone people to death for being gay. Like, what about women who speak up, against those, grave injustices? But hey, you know what? I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. And so we have to be willing, as you said, Martine, that stuff that you toss and turn about, like, oh my gosh,
you toss and turn about it.
I'm going to be bold. Like, I'm going to come out and say this. And it feels so, that's the thing that you need to be talking about. That right there, that's going to push your edge. That's going to get more people to be like tuned into your vibration, because when we are really doing it, like, you need to be scared about the things that you're posting. You really do. Otherwise, you're playing it too safe and you're just fitting in with the rest of your industry. This is really this is where my work is going. Martine's been working with me in my mastermind, so I'm working with her on this. And I knew I wanted to have her on my show. She's been an incredible coach in our Magic Makers community for the winter season. Martine, I think you're just so fantastic. And I know you are going to, you're lighting up the world with this gift. And this is honestly just the beginning for you. I want to know, what is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
I think that my gutsiest move has been making maybe there were two. The first was really embracing oneness. I grew up in a religious community here in the Philippines, and even when we were abroad, and to kind of like have a new view of spirituality was a very brave thing. I told you before, it was 10 years for me, 10 years to say, I believe in God, and God is love, and that's enough. He is enough. It is enough. The universe is enough. And that happened just last year. And for me, what that opened me up to was a whole new world of possibilities, because now that there's no separation separating me, no dogma separating me from anybody, I can love everybody. So my heart got bigger, and I believe that was crucial for me to be able to embrace coaching, which was my next gutsiest move. I had never invested what I invested in coach training school. I told you this. And part of my elevating the temperature of this martyr mindset is, I'm going to pay this price, because if I don't start, nobody's going to believe that they can do it. So, like, to give everybody like context, the price that I paid would have paid for a really good Class A school here for 1 year. So it's no joke for somebody in my country. But then I said, but I'm not just for my country, I'm for the world. So if I invest this amount, that's going to come right back to me. And that gutsy move in mindset, again, backed up with this oneness spirituality, it showed me that abundance is accessible to anybody who chooses. You just have to choose. You just have to choose. So I chose to take a stand for my faith. And then I took a stand for my worth.
Yes.
And I am worth more than anything that I have paid for in terms of coaching. I get the best coaches. Like, I have the best coaches. And that pays me back in dividends beyond my business.
Absolutely.
So I think my gutsiest moves have been in spirit and in mindset. Those are the two most memorable things that I would say have been my gutsiest moves.
So good. So good. I've just seen you grow and evolve so much. And I remember when we were discussing the investment, and I could feel you're like, okay, I really want to do this, but like soon, in the future. And I was like, no, now. Like, I see it now. Let's talk about how we can get you in. And You did. You saw it and
Mm-hmm.
you did it. You made that investment. I know it was a big thing for you. And again, I'm not from the Philippines. I've
Mm-hmm.
traveled a lot of places, but I have not been to the Philippines. So you're investing a US dollar program,
Yeah.
but with Filipino, what's your currency called there?
Pesos, Philippine pesos. Yeah.
Philippine pesos. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like the currency, and you got to deal with all that stuff. I know I have
And the
clients
whole
from all over the
mindset
world.
that, oh, I'm this little Filipino here. But this is
Right.
what actually triggered it. I think I was listening to my, Bob Proctor's one of my favorite, people to listen to. And he said, he was talking to a couple that wanted to buy a house. And they said, well, this is the kind of house we'd like to buy. And he said, okay, so buy a house. But we don't have the money. Then he says, then you really haven't chosen the house. So when I remember that, I said, anything that I choose to do, I will make a way to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating here. Ever since then, my income and the clients that I attract has just been growing and growing. I had my first quarter review with you, and I told you I've never made this much money, right? And it's because I'm around this energy that is making it possible. So,
and you're working less, and you're like,
and I'm working less,
and I worked less, and I was like,
yeah. And I said, the thing is, I wanted to work with her because she's like, do less, make more.
Mm-hmm.
And
it happens.
It's happening. So I'm like,
I'm so glad
we're going to stick around like together for quite some time.
That's the thing. It's just knowing that you've got to get out of your own way. If you come from a country where this wasn't the common thought process, if you were from a family where they weren't teaching you this, if you got to be the first. Leaders are willing to go first. They're willing to go alone. Yeah. And you have demonstrated that, Martine. Where can people find out more about you? I know you have a lot of juicy stuff. What do you want to offer up to our listeners?
Awesome. So today I want to offer you my free workbook. I have a free workbook on martinedeluna.com. It is 5 steps to knowing your personal brand. So that's a nice workbook. I actually use that with my clients, but you can enjoy it, do it in your own time. I also have a Facebook group. So you can look up Make It Blissful Mindset Hacks. That is for women who lead. It's all about mindset and juicy stuff like that. I just really love connecting on social media. So if you are on Instagram, if that's your vibe, I'm on Instagram.com/Martine De Luna.
Perfect. And we'll have all the stuff synced up on our show notes page. You can go to jennyfennig.com, click on the blog tab, which is where our podcast lives. And you can just put in Martine in the search bar. This episode will come up. You'll see all this juicy goodness. If you're listening on the podcast, we have the video there too. Like, we really want to give people different options. This is a tip too, when you're putting your content out there. When possible, can you give different formats for the media? So we've got video, we've got the audio just straight on the podcast players. We've got, some of the highlights in our written show notes, kind of the key takeaways. And I'm just really proud of what we offer up to our community. Amazing women like Martine De Luna, who's just a freaking rock star. Oh my gosh, Martine, just so much gratitude for you. So much congratulations. Again, I know how to spot talent when I see it and when I see her, and you are it. So keep doing your amazing work in the world. Everyone, Martine's eventually going to get to the States. We're working on that.
Yes.
That's one of the annoying parts of where we are right now in the United States as the country, where we make it hard for amazing people to get in here because of our, visa situations. So it's only a matter of time, because Martine is going to bring her brilliance to the US in person.
Absolutely.
For now, just soak up her juicy wisdom on the interwebs. And this is Jenny Fennig sending you so much love, magic, and confidence as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.